Welcome to Momma-Sota, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the beautiful mess of motherhood. I'm your host, Monica Eickman, and I'm here to keep it real. In a world that changes by the minute, parenting can often feel like an uphill battle. We all want what's best for our children, but what that best looks like varies for every one of us. Momma-Sota is your passport to the unfiltered, unapologetic world of mommy. No perfectly edited snapshots or unattainable ideals here. We're here to share the ups and downs, the triumphs and tantrums, the mess and the beauty of being a mom. Join me as we explore the raw and authentic side of parenting. This is your safe space to vent, laugh, and learn as we navigate the unpredictable journey of raising strong, capable, and independent children for the future. Hey mamas, welcome to today's episode of Momma-Sota. Of course, it's me, your host, Monica Eickman. I'm a stay-at-home mom to my 3 smart and spicy children, whom are 7.5, nearly 5, and 2 years old. Before getting married, my now husband, boyfriend at the time, used to ask me where I wanted to be in 5, 10, and 15 years down the line. The one thing I was sure of was that I wanted to be a mom. Then years later, when we were married and expecting, I knew I wanted to stay home. That same desire or immediate switch is not true for all stay-at-home moms. Joining us today is special guest Allie Black. Allie is a newer stay-at-home mom who recently left the corporate world as a recruiting and operations manager. The transition has been a whirlwind, to say the least. Welcome, Allie, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we definitely want to talk more about that transition because I think that's a big one for those who take the leap and do that. And then also just that question for those that always work that 9 to 5. But before we kind of get into that, just tell us more about yourself and your family.
Yeah. So I am Minnesota born and raised. I now am in the Minnetonka area with my husband, and we have 2 littles. My daughter, Letty, is 2.5, and my son, Huck, is 10 months old and already on the move. We are a busy family, like I think all of your listeners can relate to, but my husband actually owns a business, so we don't follow kind of a typical schedule at our house. He leaves in the morning, so oftentimes, and I know we'll get into this, but I'm solo, home a lot, even when I was working in the corporate world with the kids, so he can build that up and make it successful. So we love to be outside. We're big Gopher football people. Sports are kind of something that we spend a lot of time around, whether that's going to games or watching them with the family, and just really pride ourselves in our relationships with God. We're a Christian household, and then also with our family too, kind of holding them close.
So your husband owns his own business. How long has he been doing that, and what kind of work is it?
Yeah, so he's a golf fitness trainer. So it's very niche and specific. So he went to school for exercise science and sports medicine, and he was a golfer all his life. His grandpa was a golf professional. It's kind of just been in his family. So he went and played Division II golf and then actually coached at Mankato State with his brother for a while before he knew that he wanted to pursue the fitness field long term as it pertains to golf. So he went out to San Diego. It's called the Titleist Performance Institute, and did some ongoing training there. So he doesn't do like helping you with your swing. He does like the physical fitness behind golf. So we want to hit the ball farther. Are you having aches and pains when you're like going through a round of golf? Mobility, flexibility, speed, all of that is kind of where he aligns. So he actually works at Interlochen Country Club. So it's a golf course, doing more of the personal training and fitness over there in the mornings. And then in the evenings, he's at his own gym in Maple Grove.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband is exercise science, sports major, coaching. I have a kinesiology degree. My father-in-law, my kid's grandpa, big golfer, and even still, like, don't even realize like this is a thing.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting.
Yes, it's awesome. I mean, he loves it. I am not a golfer myself, but I do.
Nor am I.
Yeah, I hope to. I feel like it is a great sport that, like, I know he wants our kids to play it, and my dad played growing up, and he was pushing it on me, but it never really clicked. And now that we'll try to fit it in for a date night here and there. It's just something that you can do long term. So I would like to get better, but it's something that, like, it takes a lot of time, right? Like we all know, when they go play a round of golf, it takes like 4 hours or so. So even if we can go out here and there or just like hit balls with the kids, we're trying to do that. So I'm trying to make my game better.
And now you said your oldest, Letty, you said she's 2 or 2.5?
2.5. Yes. Yep. This month, I think she'll be 2.5. Yep. So she was born in May of 2022. And she is She's a little spitfire. She is full of personality, spicy and sweet all in one. She keeps us on our toes. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of mamas can relate, but she's smarter than a whip and she has just been so good with our newest addition. And now it's to the point where they can like play together and she's into babies, she's into imaginary play, she's into it all right now. So we have a lot of fun at home.
So when did you transition then from your corporate job to staying at home?
Beginning of September. It's pretty fresh.
So very new, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I was with my company for almost 7.5 years, right out of college. And honestly, I had a great experience. Like leaving was very, very challenging just because I think it's the best company in the world. And it wasn't anything that I foresaw happening. Maybe down the road a little bit later in life of being able to stay home. But yeah, left there. I started out of college doing IT recruiting, so working on finding talent for IT projects here in the Minneapolis area, and then kind of worked my way up through promotions and then was a team lead for a while and then moved into a recruiting manager role where I oversaw the team of recruiters and that up until me leaving in September.
What sparked that either conversation or decision to transition to staying home?
Yeah, I feel like so when I had my first, like everyone says, it changes you. And you're a little naive. You're going into it, you're trying to do all of the things. And I went through that first leave and I was like, okay, yes, I think I want to stay home, but do I actually? And at that point, it wasn't like this pull on my heart that like, nope, I have to stay home. We're going to make this work. It's my decision. But that's kind of when it like, those emotions of motherhood started to come over me of like, should I be home with my kids? Should I send them to daycare? The inner questions of like, what's going to be best for everyone. And it just didn't feel right. And then it was with my second. He was born in December of 2023. Just going through that leave, I feel like again, a different phase. It was like I was having leave during the winter months, which is a unique thing versus the summer months of just not being able to do a lot of the stuff that I did with my daughter. Just again, very different. Every child that you have is different. And it was kind of nearing the end of my leave of like I really, really am dreading going back. I think with my first two, I had recently started that new position as a recruiting manager, and I was only in the role for about a month before I went on maternity leave. So I was kind of excited to get back into what I was starting and establishing. Whereas like this, it just felt like I was just going to be picking up where I left off. And unfortunately, the company, just with the economic turns that we're having, we lost quite a few people during my leave. And so coming back, I think we lost quite a few people even in the week I returned. It was just heavy. It was also heavy for me going back to work with like the emotions of leaving my baby and dropping them at daycare. And it was kind of right when I went back into that start of getting back to work where I was like, can we make this a reality? Not now, but like in the near future. Like I think that is what I meant to do, is to be home with my kids.
And what was the length of both of your leaves?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'm assuming it kind of comes to that conversation with your husband. And like you said, he's running his own business. So that always changes the income stability. I know how that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it would have me kind of, I feel like, starting the conversation a lot of just like putting it out there of like, okay, is this going to be a reality? Do we think we can make this work? Okay, let's actually sit down this Sunday and like work through our finances and like just kind of like try to picture what that life would be like of me staying home. And with the cost of childcare, which everyone knows is crazy, we actually did choose to make a switch to a nanny for the summer. And I think that that's when it just really became a reality of like, Bennett, my husband, was like, I think we could maybe make this work. Let's start here and then gradually change. And kind of why that is because during the summer months, he's just not as busy. So a nanny allowed us to have flexibility with payments and not be like kept to like a all day, every day, full week. He could come and go as needed and we can kind of rearrange that schedule based off of his cancellations and things like that. And I think that little jealousy creeped in of me with nanny was phenomenal. But I was like, she's going to the park with my kids on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock, right? Or like going to the library and doing these things. And it was like, okay, now I'm really starting to get the itch that like, that's what I want to be doing. feel like that is what I need right now in life to like fill my cup. And it was like really me just starting to push that conversation over those summer months of like, can we do this? Can we do this? And then beginning of August is when I started to have those conversations at work of like, this is coming. I will be flexible with you guys of like what you need from me. And I actually stayed on another month to help kind of train some new hires and work through that process slowly with some flexibility on their end too. So we could cut down hours from the nanny and then me still helping the company with that transition.
So, what have you found to be the biggest challenge staying?
I feel like it is for me leaving a role where I was managing people and my schedule was pretty intact each and every day, finding like grace and like just like the stillness of like the unstructured. Again, I have two little, so it's not like we're running around to a ton of activities yet or anything like that. It's like, can we make sure that we're incorporating, an art project here, but does it have to be at 10 o'clock every day? No, like that's just not the reality of what being home with kids is going to be. Sometimes they don't sleep well at night and they're going to need a nap at that time, and that's okay. I feel like that was probably still is something that I'm like working through of just like, I just because I have this idea in my head of what tomorrow is going to look like with the kids or things that I want to do, I'm not stuck to it. Like I don't have to complete these tasks. We can do this park a different day. It's not like I have to have things like planned out. That's I would say still something I'm challenged or I'm working through.
Well, I've been home for 7.5 years. And even still, sometimes it's finding that balance, like you said, planning and having a schedule. And like you said, wanting to go to the park. The balance of, like you said, no, they're extra crabby or the weather is not what we want it to be or we don't need to go to the park. But then also like holding myself accountable to like, but we do need to like have these outings or we do need to do
something.
So, like,
Yeah.
just finding, where are we going to fit that in and not just like be like, oh, another day we didn't go outside.
Yes. Yeah. It's that happy medium, like, and trying to, I kind of told myself when I made this jump, just because I, follow a lot of other stay at home moms, and there's some that I feel like just have it all together, and social media is one thing, but all the activities and all of the things, I was like, okay, I need to give myself a few months to just feel this out, right? If there's the library has a book reading and it's going to work, let's do it. But like, let's not say that every Tuesday we need to do this. I feel like that again, it's still something that I'm working through. I do think I'm like a on the go needing to be doing something person. So this transition has really taught me to settle. It's okay to be home. It's okay to just find grace in the day-to-day things that you need to complete and continuing to work through that.
I think like you mentioned too with like you said, the library story time is something you can have on your calendar, but doesn't have to be like this hardcore commitment. I think is so part of one of the biggest things I do or look forward to on my page every week is the activities and events calendar.
Oh, yes.
And the reason it's like I make it all free activities is I think for that exact reason is once we pay for something, it just brings on a different level of like commitment and a different level of guilt if we skip it or our kid is sick or whatever that might be. And then just allowing just like that exploration of trying new things all the time when it's a rotating list versus, like you said, I signed up for a music class and I have to be there.
Have to be there because I'm paying for it. And the expectation. And I've tried a variety of those where I'm like paying for that ahead of time. But also I think your list is phenomenal because it's just like, if it is a day where it's like, I feel like we could get out and do something, sometimes I'll just refer to that of like, yeah, let's go. It's this afternoon. Even just the playtime at Dick's Sporting Goods of just like the field play, like little like changing the environment. I think that's a tip that I got a lot from stay-at-home moms when I was starting this transition of just like, yes, try to get out of the house every day. Sometimes that's not realistic, but just a change of pace, whether that's like we go to the library a lot because it's just like different, or we'll try different places for them to crawl around and play and do all of the things. So just trying to change that environment a few times a week, not every day, has been helpful.
As even for me, like remembering that environment change or the transition periods in time doesn't always have to be like, this is an activity we're doing for the kids. Like for me, I'm like, nope, Monday with the kids works for me. It's my time to go to the grocery store. And like, that is our transition of the morning.
Yeah.
My husband's like, why don't you just order groceries? I'm like, nope, it's another thing for me to get out of the house with the kids, to walk around, to do something.
Yes, I feel that so much. It's like making those like tasks into an activity because it is for you. And like I think that's also like just with this transition of like my Sundays look so much different than they used to in the corporate world of like trying to do all of the things of like I don't have to get every single thing done on a Sunday to go into my week feeling refreshed and ready to go. I can get the
Yes.
groceries on a Tuesday. Like
The errands just get
Yes.
spread out.
yeah, spread them out. Like it's not like I feel like I'm like running around just to prep for that week. So that's been something that's been refreshingly different, just like what that weekend prep looks like or going into your weeks looks a little bit different.
What surprised you most, as far as like if you had a set like expectation of what something would look like or be, and you're like, yeah, that's totally not.
Oh my gosh. I would say just the when you're home with your kids, like I think just expecting, again, it goes back to like the expecting one thing of like, well, they're going to be home with me. It's different than somebody else watching them of like, they'll be able to do their solo play and then this and then that. And like this, like hard to say. I just feel like I just felt like it was going to be easier than it is. Like and I feel like it's like teaching me so many things, but like it truly has been, it's the hardest job I've ever done of balancing a 10-month-old and a 2.5-year-old of like, oh, we're going to go to the park and we're going to do this and we're going to whatever. But those age ranges for a park is tricky, right? Like I envisioned this picture perfect. We're going to walk to the park and we're going to do this. And then we're going to come home and I'm going to make lunch and this and that. And then it's like, well, no, a 10-month-old at a park wants to move around, but only can really do the swing. And then my toddler wants a snack. And then they're trimming trees at the park, so we have to leave early and this and that. It's just like that. Just the things that continue to happen, like it is never going to be picture perfect, but like finding those small moments to like see their brains work and their curiosity and just like bringing them into a lot of the household tasks has been something that I'm like really trying to do. But it's like teaching me to slow down a ton. And so I'm learning, but like, I think truthfully, it was like, this is, I'm their mom. It's going to be great. It's not like all sunshines and rainbows. There's a lot of difficult in being home and caring for the household, but also like building your children to who you want them to be and like embracing that along with everything else.
That's one of the beautiful sides of it is, but the scary thing also is you're given that opportunity to like be with your child 24/7 and to shape them and mold them and teach them really the way you want to, because they don't have that outside influence of daycare. But then at the same time, you're in your head, you're like, okay, but if something isn't, the way I thought it should be for them, you're like, did I screw my kid up?
Yeah. Overthinking it of like, oh, we didn't, and then yeah, social media is so hard, but like you see all of these things of like, oh, I should be doing this or like this person's doing this at this age. It's like, well, should I be doing that? Or like just getting pulled into that too of like, am I doing this the right way? Or am I pushing too much on them? Right. Or are they playing with the right toys for their age? Like I start to overthink that often.
That is a big one with social media, and something like I've come back to with the whole idea of Momma-Sota is you see what people want you to see, plain and simple.
Exactly.
So it's not to say that they don't have a clean kitchen when they're showing you a clean kitchen, or that their kid didn't do this art activity when their kid did the art activity. But is that what it looks like 24/7? Did they do that every day? How many times did they film that, before it got posted?
Yeah, it's so hard to just like take that all in because it's like even, and I know we'll get there too with like me kind of focusing on the social media side of it, but like trying to embrace those little things that like aren't picture perfect. Like I think that that's honestly what like kind of led me to getting into or just wanting to be a little bit more creative or having an outlet is like there's just so much out there that how can like you resonate with like an audience of like this is happening or the toddler's asking this or they've asked, the why question 68 times. It's like there's as much that's out there for content creation. Like there's always going to be something else I feel like that like we're looking for that's like pulling us into like the realistic of our life. But that's like the hurdle with social media is like you get to choose what you're posting unless it's like completely live, which who would do that? I think with kids that would be crazy. But that's the world that we live in right now is just like the on like not being able to turn your brain off because this person's doing this and this person's doing that. Am I doing that the right way? But also trying to be that for somebody else. It's just it's a lot. And we as moms, on top of everything else that we do, like we hold it all on our shoulders. So yeah, social media definitely plays a factor into just like, am I doing all of the right things?
Sorry, my babes woke up, so I'm just grabbing your phone. Oh, you're good. Let's talk about women and right now since we're kind of on that path. So when did you?
So I went to school. Weirdly enough, I did not go to school for IT staffing. That's not really a thing. But I went to school for journalism and like mass communication. So I was actually focused in on like public relation and advertising. I always kind of had this creative niche. My mom owned a dance studio and grew up a dancer, just loved the arts, did theater in high school, just have always really enjoyed that part of just like the media world, I should say. And in college, one of like our capstone projects was like starting a blog, just completely out of the comfort zone as a senior, trying to figure out my path. I kind of got going with that and started to have some brands like reach out and just kind of getting the blog thing going. And then I started my corporate career and just completely pushed that to the side. It was just too much to take on when starting something new right out of college. But I think that's like initially like kind of what built a little bit of a following for me on Instagram. And then after a few years, it was just, okay, how can I keep doing this? And here and there, I would start to do things and then I would back off because it was a lot of work. It is a lot of work to do all of that. Honestly, for the last like few years, it's like I did toy with okay, I don't have that picture perfect kitchen or my, you know, just things around my house, like just what you see. It's like, oh, I couldn't do that because it's not what we're seeing. And then this kind of change happened with social media where it was like, no, content creators can, they can talk about anything. There's a few that like I really like to follow because it just feels like so real. And then when this transition happened, it was like, okay, what better time? Like, let's embrace what you're going through. Maybe you can showcase some things that you're learning as a new stay-at-home mom, like trying to navigate all of that. So I don't have plans for it. It's just kind of something that I'm fitting in when I can, having fun with it. So it's really just been kind of as of late, I would say over the last like maybe 3 or 4 months, kind of put more of a focus on it of just trying to capture what I can. But no like set goals, just trying to use it as something for me to showcase kind of what we're going through right now in our household.
I think that's one of the things too, even with, I mean, like my Facebook page is over a year now, Instagram's shorter, the podcast is even still balancing like just being in the moment, being a mom, and then something will happen or I'll do something or I'll be a week later and I'll be like, oh, that would have made for really good content.
There is
like, how do I recreate this but still try to seem authentic? And then
and honestly, what I have learned is I've had so many people reach out to me lately, just being like, keep posting. Like, it's so real. Like, I love the videos. I'm not even a mom or like this, but I love watching this or like, it's just been refreshing to kind of get those comments back because it's like, oh, okay, somebody is watching this. It's not just like for me, like putting it together. Like people are enjoying it, whether it's just my distant cousin that's getting an update on the kids through these videos, right? Or another mom that's seeing it in action or just people that are using it for entertainment. Content creators are like the number one form of entertainment right now. So it's like if somebody's watching it and enjoying it, great. Like that's all that I'm going after. But I have found that just posting up the camera sometimes and just letting things happen. Like my toddler will say the funniest things. And it's even if that's not going up or it's like these little keepsakes. Yes, they're longer videos on my phone and so much storage or whatever. But it's just the stuff that I've been capturing, like even just for myself, like the home videos, if you will, from an iPhone perspective have been super fun just to like see what comes of the chaos.
And like you said, I think that's it. It just because I've said that to my husband before. I'm like, this is when, not really, but I wish I was a celebrity that had a camera on me 24/7 because I'm like, You'll never guess, like you said, what the kids said today or what they did. And you're like, oh, gosh. You can't be like, hold on, I'm going to press play. Say it again.
Say it again. No, and it's never the same. And they've moved on to another activity, right? Like, yeah, that has just been kind of the way that I do it is prop it up here and just let it go, and see what happens.
Well, I might have to do that because, like I said, it's those spur of the moment, random. My kids found after trick or treating a little like pumpkin top cap.
Okay.
And my youngest put it on her head, and it's just like that orange velvet with some green leaves on top. And she's walking around saying, I'm a carrot, I'm a carrot.
Oh, yes, and it's those little moments that will live inside your head, but it's like, oh, you do wish sometimes you just had that to look back on.
Yeah.
So,
And you're like, here, moms, just stop for a minute, laugh. If nothing else, just laugh for a minute. Now get back to your crazy life.
oh, well said. Yes.
So then what's besides obviously capturing all of the little things that I find myself sometimes I have to hold my tongue a little bit because my husband will be like, oh, babe, watch this, or so-and-so just did this. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, but they've done that for like 2 weeks.
Right.
So what has been kind of the most rewarding thing being home and seeing everything day in and day out?
Well, I mean, a lot of what you just said, like my husband will say, are you working with her on her alphabet, or this or that? It's like, he's like, she just counted to 16, like just the little things that like catch them off guard. And it's like, you get to experience that firsthand has been awesome. But I mean, just that this sounds like so silly, but just like being in the corporate world, like I mornings were so like go, go, go. Like with a husband that leaves in the morning at 5 a.m., like it just like we don't have like this standard setup where I get his help in the morning, both people go to work. That's just like not what is happening like at our house. So a lot of it was I'm tackling it by myself. And so just like the slow mornings, like of I'm not racing. Yes, I want to get up before my kids, but I don't have to. Just like that freedom of like, okay, we can do this project in the morning or we can take it slow, listen to Jack Johnson and make pancakes. Like little things like that of just embracing those mornings of slowness and letting the day like work out itself has been like so awesome. Just for me, I think I really needed that of just the change of pace and like a slow down moment. But mornings have just kind of become sacred over here for myself. And I think just something that like I really didn't think would make such a difference, but cutting out that commute and being home and taking it slow has been amazing.
I haven't even really thought about that, but it's so true. Even, I mean, my oldest is in second grade and I do bring him to school every morning and the girls come with me. But even still, like if the girls are slow to get dressed or slow to eat breakfast or whatever it might be, it's like, okay, that's fine. Hop in the car in your pajamas. We're bringing your brother to school. And then we can go home and still continue whatever it was. This is like, nope, I'm dropping you off at daycare and I'm going to work. So this has to be done.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, it was just if I would leave the house 5 minutes later, I would have to be texting my boss and saying, I'm going to be late because I'm going to hit traffic now or this or that. And it's just the mornings are unpredictable. And I found myself oftentimes having to wake the baby up in order to feed them before I take them to daycare. And then, it happens where you need gas and you need this. And it's just like, it was just, I felt like I was on this hamster wheel in the mornings. And then by the time I would get into the office and get my butt in my seat, everything just kind of like felt like it was getting pushed all day long. And then I was going into my evenings just like stressed with what I couldn't complete the day before because my morning was so off or feeling the guilt of, oh, I have to push this meeting because I'm running 15 minutes late, but I'm not available until Friday and it's Monday, So like that was just like such a weight lifted having that piece of like the control over my schedule being again lifted and just such a big change for me having known that world for 7 years.
It's a completely different level of like stress and guilt. Like both, don't get me wrong, have those things. But like you said, it's like, yes, when I'm home, there's no really like when does work end because I'm a parent 24/7. But at the same time, like you said, when you're at work, each time you're changing or canceling or moving appointments, you feel like you're letting down like a whole group of people.
Yeah. And it was after my first leave that I feel like I really struggled with that of just like setting the expectation that, nope, I do have to leave at this time to go pick up for daycare. And I worked for a young company where I was the first woman in my office to ever take a maternity leave. So
Mm.
that just the preparation for a maternity leave, right? They just hadn't done it before. It's not like we did it wrong or again, we could have done it better, but just hadn't happened. And I think we learned a lot through that time. And then it was second time around going through, 3 months is a long time, especially in a managerial role to leave your team and hand duties off. And just setting the expectation, yes, but just also being okay with like them, like other people just aren't going to get it because they're not there yet. And now I'm starting to see people, have the kids themselves and work through that process. And like,
For that,
yes, and I had that when I did it, seeing not people in my market here in Minneapolis specifically, but just like other friends and this and like everyone says, just wait until you're there, like you'll feel it. But like I felt that wholeheartedly, and I feel like those other people are probably experiencing that same feeling that I felt having gone through it for the first time.
well, and it's even just the small, like you said, you don't think that getting out the door 5 minutes later adjusts arrival by like 15 to 20 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, that little pocket, that little window really like threw things off.
Yes. Yeah. And it does, or you go to daycare and the drop off that day for some reason is, chaotic or just like emotional, or you don't know when you're, taking care of two babies or however many babies you have. It's just the unpredictable and being okay with having to send that text day after day of running late. And it just like, that's the way it is. And that's where my priorities lie, is with my family and making sure that we're kicking things off. Yes, I will be to work and the work will get done, but it's just going to maybe look little bit different from like an hour's perspective.
I think that's it too, is just finding, like you said, being able to embrace and accept that like my life is different now, but for some, like depending, like you said, where you work or what your boss is like, it's like how much pressure or guilt or reprimanding are you dealing with? Especially like you said, you're the first person going through it. If they're not like, nope, we don't know what this looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you just alluded to it too. Like everyone's saying like, what is like the biggest difference coming back from leave or doing that? It's like my whole world outside of these four walls at the office has completely changed, right? My body's changed. My house has changed. This, that, like literally every single piece of me has completely changed. Yet I'm walking into an office that is exactly the way it was when I left, right? Yes, the business maybe changed or this or that, but the people are there and like we're doing the same thing over and over, day in and day out. It's like that no one else will know what that experience is until they go through it themselves.
Yeah, it's like you can try your best to describe it and it just it doesn't work.
It's not going to hit. No.
So then outside of being home and being a full stay-at-home mom, you're also doing the social media, but then you're also helping a friend
Oh,
with
yeah.
their organizing business as well, right?
Yes. So, okay. Yeah, that was something that just kind of came up. And I have always, to be honest, I've like dabbled with the thought of like, should I start something like that? I am just like a hands on person. I say I'm like non sentimental to a fault, where like I throw something when I'm just overwhelmed and don't know where it goes. Like I just, the helping people move or organizing a space or creating systems is just something that like I feel like I do have a knack for, but I love it. And so knowing that this transition was coming, I was like, okay, what is a way that I can still stay home but fill my cup, in these other areas? And I sent like kind of a cold email to, her name is Kristen, and she owns a company called Sorted, and just noticing that like it looked like her business was thriving, and mentioning like, if you ever need somebody for just like back office stuff, yes, I would love to be on projects and leaving the house and doing those things, but like working through their system, sending invoices, things that I could do like during nap time, and kind of proposed the idea to her. And she was like, honestly, this is like the best time. And so we've really fostered a friendship over, it just worked out. Honestly, fate worked out over the last like few months. And we just have a quick call, 30 minutes, like on Mondays. And it's like just dependent on her schedule, and it's dependent on my schedule of naps and things. And there can be kids crying in the back and whatever. We just make it work. And then I kind of work through, I'm like helping her with like social media posts. And then she started like a new like system where she's doing invoicing and running communications and whatnot. And so kind of doing a crash course for her on that. And then a lot of data entry, little tedious like tasks like that she doesn't necessarily have the time for, since she's out doing projects, and I'm kind of taking that on whenever I can.
That's awesome. And it's those little things, like sometimes so many things in life, but it was like you just decided like, hey, I'm going to put myself out there. And what's the worst that happens? No, I've got it under control. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. And like I said, it just happened to work out. So we've just been like feeling it out. Like there's not like a set, we don't have like a set thing of these are my responsibilities. We're feeling that out, as the weeks go, or even like, last week she was on vacation and was only able to fit in with everything going on like 1 or 2 hours, like, and that was it. And she's totally okay with that. So it's like whatever I am willing to do. And she's been phenomenal. Obviously, letting me have that flexibility has been great, but just a way for me to make like a little bit of extra money here week to week, and then just like do something else that's not here at home and help her out with like just building her brand and her business.
I think that's an important piece. I'm still trying to, after 7.5 years, but cultivating, like, whether it's a side gig job or just a hobby or interest of yours, but still finding that piece that's like, I love wholeheartedly being a mom and I love being a stay-at-home mom, but like, what is still, like you said, just something for yourself?
Gosh, that I'm like trying to do whenever I can.
Well, even like I said, even just with doing some of like the work, like I'm doing, just
Yeah. Do it just like, yeah. And like, I think that that's just like really pulling the layers back and being like, okay, what makes me me outside of being a mom? And I know that that question gets thrown around a lot, but because now I would just say like, no, me is being a mom, but there are
yep.
things that are even around the house that like I still have this itch every time that we're down in the playroom to put things back where they're perfectly organized. And I know that they're not going to be that way, for long, but it's just that's in me. And my husband will say, we don't need to clean it up. They're going to be down here again or whatever. And it's like, I limit myself to like a day of cleaning up the playroom, or once a day, I should say. But just that's just like who I am. And so, like, being okay with like, okay, I'm just going to send this cold email. I'm going to figure it out, see if it works. If it doesn't, that's fine. Maybe somebody else does. And that could be a trickle like down effect into leading to a newer relationship, or helping somebody in this way, or putting it out there and helping a neighbor move, just being able to do that as much as I can or as little as I can throughout the week has been just, again, to your point, like staying true to who I am and just finding just things that I still love to do without making them seem like it's like work for extra money, here and there. It's just something that I actually enjoy doing. And if I'm helping her do it, that's even better.
Right. And that's it with like self-care, is everyone thinks like the self-care means like I have to go to the spa or get my hair or my nails done or go work out. And it's like, no, your self-care just means like, when are you stopping to say, in this moment, I am not mom. I'm taking that lens off and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so well said, because I think that there is this expectation of like self-care has to look like this. Again, I think it comes from social media, and a lot of us moms would rather put that money of a spa day somewhere else, like, or we don't have the time to do it, right? Like it's just like that isn't everyone's like, I can't fit this in like all the time when it comes to self-care. But if it's a little thing that you're doing for yourself, to your point of just like, okay, I'm going to step back from mom mode for a second. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take an hour here to do, whatever it is. That has been really nice, especially starting this transition and kind of easing into it.
And with more of that transition side of things, what like skills or experiences would you say from working corporate and as a manager have you pulled the most youth into your life as a stay-at-home mom?
Gosh. Well, I think when I like think back to like when like my incredible leaders, like getting feedback or like working through performance reviews or things like that, like a word that stood out to me just through my career there was like consistency. Like I think everyone applauded me, and I say this very humbly, of just like being able to not like ride the highs or ride the lows, but just kind of like stay consistent as much as I can. And I think that that's something too where I was like, I feel like that is a really big compliment at work, but I also feel like my emotions, like when it comes to my personal life, like that couldn't be farther from the truth. Every time I got that feedback, I'm like, I just feel like I'm all over the place at home, right? I'm yelling this or I need this or whatever. But when reflecting too, I'm like, how can I take that of like, that is what people knew me for. That is what I think they appreciated out of me most is just like this consistent, even keel team player. How can I bring that into my home? And I think when I first started this journey, it was like, oh, okay, I need to be this mom this day, right? I need to be the mom that is put together at the grocery store in jeans and this and that. And then the next day, it's like, no, I'm going to be like the cool mom who we just spend the day outside and we play in mud and we do this. I was like trying to like do it all. I was trying to be every mom that's out there versus just staying true to me and being consistent of who I am for my kids, if that makes any sense. I just like, I was trying to fit this mold where it's like, if I can just remain consistent, whether that is, I am an emotional person. Can I still bring my personal emotions like into my day to day? Can I still say sorry to my kids? Can I still foster education and like fun at the house? Because that's also who I am too. Like, how can I still be that consistent person day in and day out without these pressures of I need to do this or I need to do that? So that's what I just try to take into every day. I pray about it. I work through it myself whenever I can, but just like, how can I be consistent even when times are tough? Like, I can still show my emotions. I can still be that person because we all need to do that and set an example for our kids, but just being true to myself every single day.
That resonates actually a lot when when you say like, I don't need to put on my makeup, do my hair, get on my jeans and my nice sweater to go to the grocery store if that's not me, if that's not my life. If I'm going to be going from the grocery store to go play out in the woods, like, does that make sense?
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you see these people out and about and you're like, it's hard not to be like, oh, they're put together this, that, but it's like you don't know what their schedule is for the day. Did they just pick up their kid from an activity, right? Or this or that? Did they have time for that? Maybe you didn't have time for that. Like just being yourself. Like I felt like when I was home, I was like, I need this whole like athleisure wardrobe, right? Now that I'm like a stay-at-home mom, it's like, no, like you have all of the things that you need, like still be you. Like you don't need this like overhaul of your life just because you have this new title. Like still staying true to you and what makes you you and what makes your family like the core that it is. That's just something that I'm like trying to remind myself day in and day out when I do go down that path of like comparison or I do try to like embody something that it's not really me.
I think that's true of a lot of us moms I mean, I do see on media that we sometimes judge and tear down other people, but
Oh,
we're
yeah.
actually really quick to like judge and tear down ourselves.
So fast. Maybe even quicker sometimes too. And it's if that continues to happen or pulling yourself down, like too, that can be a scary place to just let those that continue to build up. But yeah, the judginess on yourself, like I felt my first month, like I just that's all I was thinking of, like like what are other people or like, am I seeing this? Am I doing that? Again, it goes back to the social media thing. I think it just plays like such a big part in my life of just like comparison and kind of what I've been feeling while being like a stay-at-home mom. But it's so easy to judge yourself.
So let's end on a positive.
Yeah.
What would be one piece of advice you would give to any of our moms listening, whether it's something about becoming a stay-at-home mom, something balancing work life, whatever that biggest piece of advice you would like to give them?
Well, first, I would say if you are even thinking about it and you can make it work and you're like like feeling pulled to be a stay-at-home mom, just go for it, right? Like I think I felt like, oh, my working life is like completely off the table now. I won't be able to get a job if we need it down the road. It's like you will figure it out. And if you're feeling called to do it right now, like do it. I would say like prioritizing like the self-compassion piece. I know that we just spent a lot of time on that, but just like accepting that like some days will be a lot harder than others and just not trying to expect too much of yourself in a transition to a stay-at-home mom or just any transition in your life. I've had to lean on like support system, a lot of other stay-at-home moms, family, friends, like there was a week where it was a week and I felt like I was in such a bad place, like calling my mother-in-law to come down for 2 days and just like letting me get things done that I felt like I need to, like really leaning on the village that they talk about so much. It's okay. Like they say to ask for help, but like I've never felt that more now being like a stay-at-home mom because I feel like if I don't do that, I'm putting so much pressure on myself. So taking care of like your mental and emotional well-being is ultimately, I think, going to help you be the best version of yourself for your kids, which is really like our goal as mothers.
And I couldn't agree more. And just like you said, lending yourself grace, asking for help where it's needed. And where we always close out is until next time, mamas, keep doing your best. Thank you for joining me on this roller coaster of momming right here on Mommasota. I hope you enjoyed our candid conversation about all things parenting, where perfection is left at the door and real life takes center stage. Stay tuned for more heartfelt, unfiltered discussions in the next episode. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review Mommasota on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us. Until next time, this is Monica Eickman signing off. Keep rocking that mom life, and remember, you've got this.